Dear brothers, it's about quality, not quantity.
So guys, it should be your conversation, the way you flow, your presence is enough for a woman to want to be around you, not how much money you spend.
Dear sisters, it's about knowing your value.
My sisters out there, don't be afraid to scare a guy off just because you have standards.
Dear brothers, dear sisters, it's time to come together.
What up, people? It's your man Mo, half of the DBDS brothers. Welcome to DBDS Live. Mel Money, hit them up.
Hey, what's going on, my peoples? Welcome to DBDS Live. Man, we got a great show for you today. But before we get started, I'm going to tell you what the DBDS philosophy is about. So our mission statement is we promote thoughtful relationship topics on social media, our live show, and other outlets to help people to become a better version of themselves. We want people to embrace respect, love, loyalty, and have healthier relationships. And in doing so, you pretty much have to change how you are, but not who you are. And the better version of yourself creates healthier relationships. Healthier relationships create healthier families, and healthier families create healthier communities. What's going on, my DBDS peoples?
Yes, what's up, all my DBDS people watching, man? Listen, today we got a very interesting show, and we got some amazing guests that we got coming on. Let me give a little background about today's show. You know, a lot of things have literal meaning. A lot of things you can look at for face value, but certain times when certain things are said, that's sometimes how you take them. So there's a statement that's floating around out there in the atmosphere that sometimes a lot of women say, and it's called, "I don't need a man." So we want to analyze that to find out exactly what does "I don't need a man" really mean, because I think if you ask 9 out of 10 people, they'll probably say, if you heard that statement, what would it end with? And I think they would say nothing. So the word would be, "I don't need a man for nothing." Okay. So let's analyze that, find out if that's what it's all about, and we'll go from there. All right. Now that's going to be, get online, send us your questions, send us your comments, because we'll queue them up as we go through the show. All right. So first, what we want to do is want to bring in some our guests. We got some amazing guests, like I told you, coming straight out of Texas. We got Ashley Moses, well, better known as Ash Mo. So listen, we got two Mo's on the show. So you know what that means. Welcome to the show, Ashley Moses.
Hey guys,
Yes.
Ash Mo in the building.
Ash Mo is in the building. Okay, tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a spiritual coach. I teach people how to switch their mindsets more on a deeper and a psychological level. So that pertains to our overall well-being when it comes to our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. So, relationships play a big key factor in that. So, that's where I'm coming out.
Yes. Thank you. We're glad to have you here. We got a lot of knowledge. We also got my man Darrin Bell, better known as DVP. He's been on the show before. We're gonna bring him into the studio. What's up, DVP?
What's happening?
What's good with you?
Hey man, anytime I'm part of DBDS, that's what's up.
Oh, you killing me, man. Really appreciate that.
Then y'all got the pretty Ashley up in here.
Yes, it's all good, right? No doubt.
I'm triple team today, so I'm going off a limb,
And you smiling about it. That's all I'm saying.
Hey.
I told y'all this was gonna be a live show. I tried to warn y'all, man. So listen, I'm about to bring this over to my man Mel Money. We got to get into the show because we only got an hour and we got a lot of topics to cover. Mel Money.
Yes. So before we get started, I'm going to tell you guys about a story, and it's part of our anonymous section. The anonymous section is where people reach out to get feedback or constructive criticism based on how they can elevate the relationship. So Reese here that my husband and I have been together for over a year, and the majority of our relationship has always been me and him against each other instead of me and him against the world. All my life, I have always been independent. And part of our problem is that my husband cannot grasp that I can do things on my own. Just recently, we had a major argument about me changing the car tire. How can he be upset that I'm looking out for myself just to make sure that I will get to work on time later on? I called him stupid for not understanding my position as an independent woman. He said, "We're going to talk about this later on," and he stormed out the house. I checked the tracker on my phone just to make sure that he's either going to the gym, to one of his jobs, or to his mother's house. When he came back home, I was on the phone with my girlfriend telling her the situation between me and my husband. The first thing he did was apologize for his behavior, but I was still upset, so I did not acknowledge him, and I told him, be prepared to sleep on the couch for the next 2 weeks. Then he had the nerve to ask me, did I cook him anything, even though we have Hot Pockets, oodles and noodles, mac and cheese, and other snacks in the house. Truthfully, I am losing respect towards him, and it frustrates me that he gets mad that I don't allow him to help me in any way, shape, or form. What's the point of being in a relationship when I could do bad all by myself?
Wow, man, they got a few problems, man. So listen, I ain't even going. They got a problems. So listen, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go straight to Ashmo and see what Ashmo want to say about this one. Can you help us with some counseling on this situation?
I think I can. Okay, so I'm dissecting this right now, and I'm thinking to myself, a lot of this comes from the 50-50 relationship, right? So men need to feel needed and they need to feel wanted. And when we don't give them that responsibility, they go into shutdown mode. Okay. And I see that that's what's happening here because yes, we can at the end of the day do things for ourselves, but we have to sort of play the damsel in distress sometimes. You see what I'm saying? We have to, let the man take charge in the household because then we feel more submissive to him. Does that make sense? And that's where that's why he's going to be sleeping in the doghouse tonight. So it is what it is.
DVP.
What the H just happened? Ashley, I'm gonna agree with part of what you said, but a man wanting to change her tire, I don't know how that's submissive. In 2 weeks, clearly she ain't the submissive one. There is nothing I'm sleeping on the couch for 2 weeks, period. I mean, she could have chicken pox. We sleeping in the same bed. We may put a sheet between us, but that's just not happening. I think it sounds to me like one, they never had a discussion before they got married because they've been married for a year. Mm-hmm. Okay, let me give you the best example I can give. There are certain things that in my household, oh man, I don't allow my daughter, my girl, any of them to take the trash out unless it's something that's stinking really bad. The trash is my responsibility. The car is my responsibility. When she got a flat tire, she called me. Either I'm gonna call AAA, I'm gonna come out there and fix it. That's not her thing to do unless it's an emergency. That's just an understanding we have, though. We've had this talk. It sounds like these two never. It don't even sound like they friends. It sounds like they just got together and they were in that limerence phase and they never got to know each other. Because if a tire changing can make you so mad that you calling your friends and getting them all your information, which is strike number 2. She's just on a whole different plane, and I don't understand how she thinks that she can't do stuff by herself. He just wanted to change the tire for her, which I think is a man's responsibility. But clearly, I'm old and old-fashioned.
No, I don't think you're old and old-fashioned because I wouldn't want my woman out there trying to change the tire either, especially when I'm able-bodied. Now, if I was all busted up and my arm was in a sling or whatever, I'd be like, all right, if you want to, but I'm okay calling AAA or something like that.
Right. Or if you at work or something, but if you in the house and she changed it, I would take that as an act of disrespect.
In fact, we see a lot of videos on social media where a guy is sitting in the passenger seat and a woman's pumping gas. I look at this as pretty much a similar thing. That's just not something how you want to frame your relationship.
But I think this comes into the notion that women need to deprogram, unlearn those masculine ways. And we had to, we had to be born into that because we had to take on all these responsibilities. When women had to go to work, we had to become all these active things in the relationship. And so now I think that now we're getting confused with the gender roles, and men are very confused about what they're supposed to be doing. Women are confused about what they're supposed to be doing. So we're crisscrossing here. And so that's why a lot of relationships are in turmoil right now, because we can't find that medium. We need to get back to complimenting each other. Okay. And so I feel like, that's what's happening in this relationship.
But Ashley, that's a conversation piece. They're married now.
Right.
So they should have had some conversations about who was doing what. And that would have all been done. I mean, we may be confused in the beginning when we're dating because we're learning each other. But by the time we say our I do's, you should know who I am as a man and what my expectations are. Like I should know who you are and what your expectations were. I don't see how you can be a year in a marriage and not know that I'm gonna change the tire if the tire is flat. And then that's a huge argument. 2 weeks on the thing. that's a communication issue.
Well, that's also an incompatibility issue. I think sometimes, we're trying to make race cars into minivans and vice versa. And sometimes we're just incompatible and we're in denial about it.
I just want to chime in right quick. I just believe that, if she's the more assertive one in a relationship and he's comfortable with this fact, then all the best to her. But if you're with a man who feels that he should be the leader of his home, that he can cause negative friction within, that can cause the positive friction within our relationship, then it's going to cause a lot of issues. I mean, for example, us men, we have the natural instinct to be protective, and part of him wanting to change that tire was to make sure that she was safe on the road, right? But the way that she communicated to him, she added more fuel to the fire. And this relates to what I discussed the last time we was on the show, the whole 3 disrespectful levels. This is like a blatant disrespectful level where the snowball effect is pushed down the mountain, and now it became an avalanche. And when it comes to that point within the marriage that you have no respect, which clearly she don't have no respect, then she's not going to love him. So I wholeheartedly agree with Ashley on this part. And I see some points from DVB, but this man just gotta have a backbone, and that communication portion has to be brought to the forefront so both parties can understand the positions within that relationship.
Yeah, I just want to add one comment too. Yeah, all of that is like good information. I just want to add, like, the one thing that really struck me out of what you guys are saying really is one thing really struck me was what DVP said about communication. It's like, man, I've been with you to how long, and you don't know that this is how I feel and what my role is in this relationship. That's a lack of communication, and we talk a lot about how important communication is. So yeah, definitely.
But here's the thing, Mo, like feminism and has spurred a lot of positive changes in our society. We know that, but it also has done a lot of damage to how we view the roles of men and women within the relationships. And I always state, like, part of being a man and those 3 pillars is to protect, provide, and to lead. And also the 4th pillar, to procreate. And the simple fact that he's taken that protective pillar from that category and trying to apply it to make sure that she's okay, even if she's very handy with her hands, she still should allow that brother to show what he's naturally hardwired to do, to go out there and change the car tire.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, well, y'all hear that? We got any responses on social media, Mel, on this here? I'd like to.
Yes,
we got some responses.
Absolutely. Sandy said, if he wants to do it, let him do it. Let him change the damn tire. Another one of our users, Trey, said communication is a major key. I agree. He stated that. So yeah, I mean, it's either way. It's a combination of communication as well as the position in relationship. Because if one is more masculine than the other, and it's sort of like a reversal type of position, then it will create an imbalance within a relationship. And it sounds like that's what it is. I mean, even towards the end, she says she's losing respect towards him, losing.
Yeah.
And she still has an independent mindset, even though she's in a cohesive relationship with her man.
No doubt. All right, y'all. Yo, look, that was just a warm-up, man. We just getting warm here. We didn't even touch upon the primary topic. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about what does I don't need a man really mean. All right, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Dear brothers, it's about quality, not quantity.
So guys, it should be your conversation, the way you flow, your presence is enough for a woman to want to be around you, not how much money you spend.
Dear sisters, it's about knowing your value.
My sisters out there, don't be afraid to scare a guy off just because you have standards.
Dear brothers, dear sisters, it's time to come together. Are you single? Do you know about dbdssingles.com? Are you ready to meet a quality man or a classy woman? The DBDS brothers want you to know that love and loyalty still exists. So if you're ready to meet relationship-ready people, sign up for a free trial. dbdssingles.com, where quality men meet classy women.
What up, people? Back in the DVDS Live studio, we're talking about what does "I don't need a man" really mean? Because if you take the literal value, literal meaning, it means I don't need a man for nothing. So we're gonna dive into it and figure out a little bit more. All right. So we're gonna jump into our first topic. The first topic we want to talk about is women who want a career more than they want a man. All right, I'm gonna cue this up this way. One popular singer once said, some women choose to follow men, others choose to follow their dreams. Okay. If you're wondering which way to go, always remember that your career will never wake you up and say, I'm no longer in love with you. So let's talk a little bit about that and figure out what the ramifications of thinking with that mindset are. I'm coming to you, Mel Money. Hit you up first on that one.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being Miss Independent, right? I mean, in this day and age, a woman who can handle her own business, communicates confidence to, a high quality man, I find that extremely attractive. For example, if a woman is strong on her own financially, there's no reason to be ashamed of it. And that shouldn't affect her future potential, her future with a potential king. I just think the problem is that when women have unrealistic expectations by using their high income salary to push back mature men who are financially stable and also want to provide and lead in some sort of way, form, or fashion. And when this occurs, this limits a woman's dating pool. And it also makes a woman more masculine, which applies more to logical thinking, which are rational facts, competitiveness, aggression, action, and decisiveness, which is the opposite from her natural feminine essence, which are patience, empathy, inspiration, receptive, and emotions, which of course are related to feelings. So when a woman is overly masculine, not only that she's competing with men, she's competing with women. And this is the complete opposite from like a collaboration point of view. That's why I always tell women it's very critical to always prepare and position yourself for the right man that she can influence, because if that man could do great things, that will actually help to balance the relationship, to not only pour into her, but to the entire family structure as well.
All right. Now I'm gonna come. I want to see if there's a little contrast, or if Ashley Mo agrees with you. Ashley Mo, I'm coming to you. You got any perspective on this here?
Well, I think at the end of the day, when we're looking at a career and the whole dynamic of it, it's our conviction and convenience doesn't live on the same block. And so, women, when you're successful and when you have everything going for you, you attract two types of men. You attract the traumatized man who sees you as successful, who can take care of him, right? So he becomes the man child. You end up with his kids and him, taking care of him as well. And then, you have the other man who sees you as a challenge and wants to tame you. And so you don't really have a large pool of men that you do actually have to choose from. So it's not like, you can have a career and have a man at the same time, because it becomes a balancing force. And then you end up attracting people who you end up having to take care of, or you end up having to bring up with you. And I call that the barber the builder relationship, where you're going into the 50-50, dynamic. So.
All right. DVP, career versus a man. What's your thoughts on this?
When I listen to people keep saying that what's attractive to them, I keep wondering where is it that you're hanging out? Because ultimately, whether it's me or whether it's the woman, ultimately for the relationship to become a relationship, we both have to make the same bad choice. And too many people are picking sex over everything else, because I've dated successful women. I've dated women who were cool with my success. It's a matter of being where you are and being open-minded to what's going on, because you shouldn't have to choose, but you got to have enough presence of mind to know whether or not this person is a hanger-on or somebody who's actually there for you. And I don't know, unless you meet them in certain circumstances, how they know what you're successful at, unless you lead the conversation with that. To me, then you're putting out the, hey, I make a lot of money, come be with me. So it just kind of depends on how they got to that point, because you just can't look at a woman and say, oh, I bet she's a millionaire. She has to do something, or you had to meet her somewhere to be in that state. So I'm kind of at odds with that one.
All right, so here we go. Listen, I wanted to let y'all know that this information that I'm giving you, we got this from popular magazines, from blogs, and personal interviews. And so the next thing I want to queue up, part of the discussion, is that some women said, I don't need a man because, you know, they love their time alone, and they love their time alone so much it's more than they could ever love a man. All right. So here's the thought behind that. Some women restore themselves when they're alone. Okay, because of the stress of being around people and the things they have to go through. It's pretty draining. Okay, even if they have to constantly text somebody, if they have to constantly text somebody too much, or just some of the nonsense that they have to deal on a day-to-day basis. So they figure, hey, I'd just rather be alone. So I'm coming to you, Mel Money. What you think
That's
about
true.
this, man?
I mean, that's true. I mean, being alone is, I would say, it's extremely important before you are relationship ready. I believe this is where more codes and rules of engagement comes into play, and we have so many destructive movements that breaks up the family dynamics. Such as the radical feminist movement that I believe hurts some women because the victim role, I would say, is mostly applied in those circumstances. And when I'm referring to this context is that all men are to blame for the negative aspects in their life. Like, just men are evil, men are all dogs, they're players, the user abusers. And they kind of like try to generalize that all men are within that category. But sadly, by playing the role of a victim, people can waive responsibility for their actions and their poor choices. And I will usually hear from women that, man, they have bad luck with men, right? They just have bad luck. I don't think that is bad luck. I think it's more like they have bad strategies when it comes to dealing with the opposite sex, because luck is something that you can control, but I mean, you can't control when it comes to luck, but you can control your strategies when it comes to looking for your potential king. For example, if a man is arrogant and if he's not providing or protecting, then why are you sleeping with him? You know what I'm saying? Why are you giving him money? Why are you raising a man instead of supporting a man? So it's sort of like, I think, you know, being alone is pretty cool, but you also have to realize that whenever you're ready, you have to also be mindful and have a good filtration process on what kind of men to choose, and also pay attention to how you carry yourself.
Now, before I go to DVP, I want to make a comment, and my comment is this: if you're dealing with the right guy, you're gonna get time alone. Because you know why? Because I got a life. I got things I gotta do too. So I can't be with you 360.
Right.
You know, 24 hours of the day. It can't happen. You know what I mean? I got things I need to accomplish. I got goals. I got places I need to be. So you're gonna get that time alone to rebuild. In fact, I think both people in a relationship need that time to restore and rebuild, and just, you know, kind of that time away. DVP.
And as we talk about this, one of the things that I practice, preach a lot, is about preferences and priorities. One of the guests just said she was married to a man who didn't want to take the leadership role. When people show you who they are, you have to look at yourself and see, what are your preferences and priorities in a relationship. Is this a priority for you, or is this a preference? And sometimes when we don't write these things down, we get in relationships where our priorities aren't being met, but our preferences are, and we don't realize that until somewhere in the middle, and we're stuck because we changed our wants to needs unknowingly, and we didn't pay attention to what we were doing. Because some people are needy. Needy people need to get with people who feel that need. Some people are better being alone. They need to get with people who are better at doing things and don't have to be around all the time. Because everybody ain't like each one of us individual. We got our own preferences and priorities. So when we try to group people, there are needy men who need to be taken care of by women. There are women who like taking care of men. There are men who want to be the provider, but some men don't. And we have to address those issues before we keep promoting from within, and women promote the wrong guy who never met their basic needs, but he feel the want at the time. And I think that's how a lot of that gets misconstrued.
No doubt. Ashmo, some women said they don't need a man because they love their free time more than they could ever love a man. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that everything in the relationship is contingent upon a transaction. So the moment that a man or a woman isn't fulfilling the role, the identity, or the label that you need them to be, then there's a little bit of, animosity in the relationship. And that's where, our alone time does come in, because then we have time to reflect. But a lot of women are needy. A lot of men are needy. So this is about being able to tap into self-awareness and understanding yourself on a deeper psychological level, and knowing what your preferences are, what your passion is, learning what that meaningful, purpose is for you to be portraying in this life. But a lot of times we get into these relationships where we feel stuck with each other because we're not growing on a mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional level. So this is where the problems come into play. And this is why I teach a lot of people about the ego and how to transcend the ego and work with the ego, because that's where our problems are coming from, is us not knowing what's really going on the deeper, intimate level with ourselves.
Mel Money, you got something else you want to add?
No, I'm just gonna piggyback on what Ashley just said, and that's absolutely correct. I just feel like certain women just have to understand that, and I understand Dee's point of view as well, but it all goes back to those pillars, man. Like, I feel like men, we are naturally are the ones that pull the wagon. We're the ones that are leaders. That's what we are naturally designed. Our physiology is stronger. We are more logical in our way of thinking, and this is why, like, the two balance each other. And I always hear that people said we were created to be equal, but we were created to complement each other. And when you have a woman that is leading the relationship overall, and the man is dependent on her 100% of the time, over time, that woman is going to lose respect, because not only that she's fulfilling his role as the man, but she's trying to fulfill her role as a woman, to try to nurture him, to try to be empathetic, receptive, but at the same time, she's, doing everything else to try to make the money, the bread. It's just so much put onto that one woman, whereas the man, he's just not fulfilling his role to help her. And this is where the teammate philosophy has to come into play to make the relationship runs much smoother.
No doubt, no doubt.
And let me just say this. Mel said something really important at the end. It's that team philosophy. And when you're building a team, you can't have 3 quarterbacks. Everybody has to know their role on the team to make everything be more successful. And a lot of times we're so caught up in the visual that we miss the team concept. And because the team is not based on who looks good, it's based on how we can build together. Because women are strong in some categories than men. We have to be able to accept that, and then they have to be able to say, well, we are. And Mel, we want all men to be providers, but we know that ain't true. We know there are a lot of men who are just latcher owners, and we got to teach the women to understand who these guys are and notice them and stop giving them titles that they're undeserving of. Because that's where I think the biggest disconnect comes in. We keep giving guys a title of men when they're just doing guy stuff, because we all look alike, but we're not the same.
But I think this goes back to, going on a journey of self-love and understanding what those boundaries and standards are. And a lot of us are not taught that through our lineage, our forefathers, our ancestors. We grew up in that lack savior paradigm where we just want to, we want to nurture, because women are naturally nurturers. But at the end of the day, you're right. We are opening up our whole lives to these men who are not going to do much for us. And at the end of the day, that's where, we're giving our power away. And so it's not that we don't, per se need a man, because I think that women, at the end of the day, we do need a man, right? I went through my little, feminist movement too. And I had the issues, I was one of those women who thought that way until I come to the realization that, yeah, I can do all these things and I can be all these things, but I still need a man in my life. So, there's big consequences to that. It's about the personal boundaries and the standards.
And let me just say something about Ashley, because she said something too, and I love throwing little descriptors in there. Ashley needs a good man, and we got to start making these distinctions, because a lot of people fit the man category. And it's like when I talk about communication, a lie is communication. We need honest communication, because that's where a lot of people get, oh, I fit the role of a man, so I'm what she's looking for. But she's looking for a good man for what she needs. Like most of us are looking for good women, not just the DNA part, the biological part. We need the whole portion. And I think that's where a lot of us get caught up, and we go through those phases where I don't need and we forget we don't need a sorry person in our life. We want a good person, man or woman. We need a good person. And I think that we too blanketed with that man, woman. I don't need a man or a woman, when they don't need a sorry man or a sorry woman.
That's a good segue. You got something else you want to add, Mel? Go ahead, jump in, man.
I'm going to piggyback on D and Ash. I mean, yes. I mean, I think the terminology has to be turned into that, when women say this, they should say, I don't need a broken man.
Absolutely.
Not, you can't say I don't need a man, because truthfully, we do need each other in order to balance, in order for it to make, even to become a better woman. That right man can make a woman a better woman.
Exactly.
And it's like, I always visualize it as 2 pieces of the puzzle, right? You could do a lot by yourself on that one piece of the puzzle, but when you have 2 pieces of the puzzle and they come together, you have a hell of a team that could take you to the next level.
Right. That's a complementary energy, you know, and that stimulates a lot of creativity within a human being when they're able to complement each other in a relationship. You can get a lot done. Yeah.
Definitely. Hey, so let's dig a little deeper, okay? Because here's a situation. What I want to talk about now is, look, some women said, listen, I don't need a man because I simply don't need a man. And let me tell you what I got going on. Check this out. And y'all touched upon a little bit, but we got to go a little deeper. All right, listen, I got a great career. I'm the head of the household. My family is stable. I'm doing my thing. I don't need nobody's BS. You know, I'm running this. I got this under control. Okay. What I need a man for? What I need a man for? Come to you, DVP. What? I mean, I got all that going on. What I need a man for?
Well, and that was, I think that was in one of the posts that you did earlier. And what I think it is when you got these people, they've never seen a great relationship or no one personally. So what they've been through, they're a victim of their circumstances. And this is how a lot of us get in that mindset. If you've been in 4 or 5 bad relationships consecutively, you develop that mindset. I mean, I did it in my younger years. I kept dating the wrong woman because I picked her because I didn't want to be in a good relationship. I didn't know I was self-sabotaging. And once we get to that, those are the crazy things that we do to keep us there. And that's what, to me, that's a big reason why we get like that.
No doubt. So Ashmo, I'm financially stable. I got everything I need. What I need a man for?
Well, I think if you're coming from that, I still call that's called the lack mentality, in my opinion, because you may have all those things, but you know, if you're coming in with that aspect of it, then you're not even gonna be able to attract a man, because that's still what I call masculine ways, and that's where a lot of women are stuck right now, and that's why they're lonely. And we have a worldwide epidemic problem of loneliness, not just on a physical playing field, but also on a mental, emotional, spiritual field. Right now, a lot of people feel lonely in life because, you know, they're thinking that way. It's that lack mentality that keeps you stuck. So of course you're not going to find a man because you're not going to attract one. You're self-sabotaging, like you said. You're self-sabotaging yourself in that paradigm of way of thinking.
Mel Money, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to I like what Ashley just stated, because pretty much everything is you making yourself more masculine. So when you do become more masculine, it pretty much just drowns out the feminine essence that women are designed and meant to be. And it just makes it a lot harder. It slims your dating pool much lower. I mean, I know plenty of women who are career driven who express having a man to go on a vacation with. They have terms like vacation, staycation, or I know some women that said being single sucks, even though they have everything going on, like the money and the cars and the house, and they yearn for a handsome man to give them a massage and things of that nature. But this is why I believe that cuffing season is so popular, because at the end of the day, us being humans, our human connection and social bonding is priceless compared to the material aspects and the career. We can't. There's no comparison at all.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's exactly where I was going to go. So I wanted to take it a little deeper and just kind of talk about this here. And hopefully, I know DVP should have a lot of information on this. But listen, there's an epidemic right now. And the epidemic is that we got a lot of girls and women are ending up missing. Okay. And so I had a discussion with DVP at one point, and he was saying, listen, man, you know, you can't be with your woman or your girl all the time. But if there's a such situation where maybe she went shopping late at night or something, and she's coming out the grocery store, tell her to give you a call you on your phone, and you can talk to her as she goes to her car to make sure she's safe. Right. So there it goes. Protection. Okay. I don't need a man, but what about this protection piece? Okay. And then the other piece that Mel hit upon, which was, you know, he said, have a man for a nice massage. Let's not talk about, we ain't talking about sex here. We're talking about the therapeutic nature of touch, the therapeutic nature of that bond and that relationship. What about that? Okay, it's not financial, but what about those? Let's talk about those a little bit. DVP, I'm coming to you, man. I want to, you know, that discussion we had, man, about the protection piece. What about that?
Well, let me go back to something, because I had a conversation with a couple of nurses about this. You know what babies need immediately after they're born to survive? They need human contact. We learn that from birth. If you don't give a baby human contact, the baby will die. They need that contact. We never lose sight of that, which is why so many of us get in bad relationships, because the need for contact, whether we admit it or not. So that's one of the basic things we got to accept. We need that human interaction and contact. But as far as the protection goes, and this is what men have to understand, and they have to have a conversation with their woman to say, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm not stalking you. And I'm going to just use you, Ashley. I'm not stalking you, but when you leave, give me a call that way I can make sure you're safe, because I can't be everywhere with you. But you can have me on the phone as you walk from the mall or the grocery store to your car. That way, we got a sense of security going on with each other. Once you get in your car, you can cut your music on and cut me off. But I know that you made it from there to there safe. These are little things that we can do that don't provide. We don't have to give muscle. It gives us time to have a little fluff conversation or whatever. It gives us still self-time. And these are the things that are so missing, because in this microwave society, I just want to see you. I don't really want to do a whole lot of talking, but this is how you build that, because she feels a sense of comfort just talking to me for that 4 to 5 minute walk, which makes her mentally more connected to me, which brings, she'll become physically more connected. And she has a level of respect. So when I say, Ashley, just let me know when you're here, do this and let me know you got there safely. The woman won't see somebody who's trying to keep track of her. She'll see a man who has told her, hey, I just want to make sure you get from point A to point B safely. Once you're in the car, do what you want to do. But when you're out of the car and you're in harm's way, just give me a call. And a woman will see that as being the protector without being there physically. And this is something that's a conversation piece.
So, Ashley, what about this? The protection piece and the therapeutic nature of just having a relationship. Let's talk a little bit about that. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, we are a socially related species. And like you said, we have to have that connection with each other. We have to be, as a woman, we need a protector. We need to be able to trust you with our feelings, our thoughts, our emotions, just on every level, in order for us to feel a physical attraction to you. Like you said, it's about having that. You want to be interdependent, but at the same time, you do need that intimacy with your partner. You need to be able to confide in your partner. Like you said, at any time or point in the day, calling your partner, hey, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing. And having that intimacy with each other.
Now, Money, thoughts?
So I just want to get a comment from Facebook. Our DBDS sister, Michelle, said, I was married to a man who didn't want to take that leadership role. He expected me to do everything for myself. And even though I'm capable, it's very refreshing to now have a man in my life who wants to be a protector and who wants to make sure that he does these things for me.
No doubt. Listen, man, I'll change it. I'll do an analogy. Everybody's been on projects where they have multiple people on the project, right? How you feel when one person ain't pulling their weight or taking the role that they have been assigned, right? You're like, man, come on, man, you got to do your job. You got to do something. You can't just tag along and get credit. You know what I mean? So that sounds like a similar situation right there. Yeah, pretty deep, man. Anything else, Mel?
Yeah, and another comment from Sandy. No, sorry, Tolson. She said, yes, teamwork makes the dream work. Great points from all of us. So she stated that as well. Yeah, but that's very important. This is why I stated the 3 basic levels when it comes to those particular things. Like we talk about, to me, a man and a woman relationship, that's where, the woman is soft and like the nurturing, and she's emotional and she's the foundation and so forth. And the man, he's the hard, he's the protector, he's the leader. And then you have the mother and child relationship where the woman plays like a surrogate mother. And to Ashley's point of view, the man, he's a man child. He's just like an adopted son, got nothing going for himself, no purpose, no life. And then finally, you have the father and child relationship where the man, he does not lead, he controls. And leading and controlling are 2 different things. It's almost like it's a dictatorship and not a relationship. So just the simple fact that sometimes when you don't understand those positions, like the example you use, Mo, and somebody got a role that they're not familiar with, and they, can cost you billions of dollars in the company because they don't understand their role and everything. Same thing applies in a relationship. It can really, screw things up, and you can have severe consequences.
No doubt. Absolutely. Now, I want to just change it up a little bit. I'm going to have a dive a little bit deeper here because I got to ask y'all this question. When there's some women out there that say, I don't need a man, here's my question to you 3. My question is, what are the implications for the kids? When a woman says, I don't need a man, what's the implication for the kids? Are there any? Does it matter? Coming to you, Ashley. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think if you're already in a relationship and you're at that standpoint where you feel like you could be in the same room with your partner and you don't feel connected to them, you still feel lonely, then I think it's time for you to make a move. I think it is time because your kids start to play off that. Your kids start to feel that lack of emotional connection because you're not happy. And, I don't see it. I left a 20-year marriage. Okay. I married my high school sweetheart. And even though I loved him and I cared for there was no connection between us physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I didn't know, that I hung on to that for a long time and it made me really sick. I had a lot of anxiety, I had a lot of depression. I didn't know who I was. It took a toll on me and my kids could see that. So, I understand that we don't want to break up quote unquote happy homes, but internally it kills you on the inside when you can be in the same room with your partner and feel no kind of connection and still feel lonely on the inside and not have nothing there to show for it. So even though you've got all the material things, you've got your house, you've got your cars, you both got good careers, you're 50-50, you build the foundation. But if there is no connection on all four of those levels, or if they're off, then it's not worth it.
DVP?
And Ashley said something, I touched on this before. We say we want to keep the family unit alive for the kids, but kids know better than us because they feed off their energy. A lot of kids, and I don't know Ashley's situation, when you leave that toxic situation, they feel better and they start telling you little things like, I'm glad you left. I'm glad this, because they notice it. And all the time we're thinking that we're doing right by them by staying somewhere with them. We're unhappy. And all we're doing is causing ourselves to be physically ill, because it will start manifesting itself because we start finding reasons to be away, to not have to be in the same place, to not touch. And when women say that they don't need a man, we have to, as outsiders, men, we have to address that issue. Why do you feel like this? Because again, is it men that you don't want to be around, or is it crappy men you don't want to be around? Because sometimes we keep making bad choices and we don't ever want to take accountability or responsibility for the choices that we made. So sometimes women have to look outside themselves and see, which is why I go back to the purpose of priorities. Are you making bad choices and you blaming everybody else for your choice? Well, these same guys keep picking me. Well, if you keep going to the same dumpster, the same guys hang out at the dumpster. Maybe you need to find a different place to hang out. And so when some of them say this, I truly understand, because once you hear their backstory, I understand why you don't like men, because you keep picking shitty dudes.
Right.
And it's, and that's what we got to get beyond. And we got to get beyond them making decisions. As I said, just because you love somebody once upon a time, sometimes during the growth process, this happens. And sometimes you just got to let it go.
So let me add this comment, then I'm going to you, Mel, see if you got something you want to add. I just want to touch upon what DVP said. He said, the growth process, you grow apart, right? Mm-hmm. One thing just everybody should just keep in mind is that relationships are dynamic. What you start with and what you meet is going to change, guaranteed. Over time, you're going to care about things differently. You're going to see things differently. You're going to want different things. It's dynamic. So you need to either roll with it and change with it to keep it fresh and new, or if you don't, you're going to grow apart, both of you. So Mel Money, you got any thoughts on that last discussion?
No, I can relate to what everyone is saying about this. I mean, when you in a toxic relationship, you don't want to set the blueprint for your kids to follow at all. You don't want to do that, because that would create generational curse, right? But at the same time, when a woman does become a single parent and there's no father figure around, it kind of makes it more challenging for that child to grow in the environment. And this is why I always state that children, they need nurturing from their mothers to strengthen and to build them up. And they need leadership, guidance, and direction from a father or a father figure. Nowadays, many young ladies have relationship issues because they didn't have a father or a father figure to really lace them with good strategies with dealing with men. Just to use this as a metaphor, just like a car that needs a filled gas tank to run properly, the car also needs a steering wheel to guide it in the proper direction. And if you don't have a steering wheel, then that car is just going to go in circles.
If it's going to crash into something.
Something.
Let me say this right quick because of you, Mel. Well, when I was married, my daughter came home. I came home work one day, and my wife was mad with me. And I was like, "What I do?" And she's like, "Talk to your daughter." And my daughter had a problem at school, and she was telling me about it. And Or my wife was like, why didn't you tell me? She says, Mom, all you're going to do is want to hug me and cry. I need an answer to the question. That will give me answers. You just want to hug me. I don't want to be hugged right now. I want to fix this problem. And it's like, I'm in trouble for saying this. Like, yeah, she only wants to talk to me. I'm like, you're a nurturer. I'm supposed to find solutions. It's like, man.
That's funny.
Like, so when you said it, I was like, yeah, you should have told me this years ago, man. I wouldn't have got in trouble.
It's Mel's fault. No, it's your fault. All right, so listen. One article that I read said this, and I'm just going to read this because it's pretty interesting. It said some women promote the "I don't need a man" mantra because of life's disappointments. Okay, they've been disillusioned, they're embittered, and they're angry at men in general. Right? We touched upon this a little bit, but sometimes it says those women, they camouflage their wounds. They say that because they camouflage in their wounds to protect their hearts, and they convince themselves that they don't need a man. All right, so that's another position that we want to look at. So I'm gonna come to you, Ashley, see what you have any thoughts on that.
Well, I think that, we've sort of emasculated and demoralized men to a certain extent. And it is because we are angry. We have a lot of unhealed emotional wounds on the inside of us that need to be dealt with. And that comes from the generational curses as well. Like you were saying, Mel, about, dropping those generational curses and being able to break those. And I think right now what's going on in society as a human collective is women are starting to realize a lot about themselves. Men are starting to come back to knowing a little bit more about themselves. So we're all coming to this awareness, and it's like it's crashing right now. And that's why you got a lot of, women leaving these long relationships, or men that are out there, trying to have their cake and eat it too. And I'm not saying women don't cheat as well. I don't want to, bash men because I'm not a man basher, but this is what's happening to us right now as a collective. Is we're starting to come back into this awareness of who we truly are, and we're trying to decipher this old world and trying to come into this new world of emotional healing. And we're coming out of those dark ages because we learned a lot of this from our ancestors and our forefathers. Mm-hmm. This is where it's coming from, and so it's this time where it's just starting to blow up. And I think as we progress into the new decade, we're going to see a lot of people coming into their truth, creating more intentional lives, meaning they're going to be creating more intentional relationships. That's why you're saying, you see a lot of, hey, your vibe attracts your tribe, right? So you're going to be finding the people who you're actually meant to be with versus just shacking up with people or coming into these relationships that don't resonate with you on a soul level. So
Mel Money, some people believe that when women say I don't need a man, it comes from a place of bitterness. They dealt with certain situations, they're real bitter. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, my thoughts on it is it's sort of like you're in high school repeating the same grade over and over again, and you will never graduate until you learn that lesson. And those particular women, they still in eighth grade. You know what I'm saying? They still reliving that same moment, and now they're bitter and they have these emotional scars that are baggage, and it's holding them down. And I think a woman, in order for her to maintain her queen status, she has to be able to acknowledge the mistakes she makes. She has to be accountable for her actions, the poor choices that she make. And that way, when she gets rid of those baggage, she can elevate to the throne and continue to be a queen. But it all goes back to just taking responsibility for yourself and stop saying, I see a lot of women saying like, I'm a bad bitch, right? Excuse my French, but normally a bad bitch often have a bad relationship because she only markets herself to someone like a bad man who will only value her for sex most of the time. And, the more that you think men are like that, and the more you put yourself that way and you don't learn those lessons, the more you're going to just put yourself in those positions to be taken advantage of by a loser, a user, or abuser.
DVP, I don't need a man because I'm bitter. I've been through too much. Thoughts?
Well, again, a lot of it is accountability and responsibility. Where are you in life? Are you self-destructive because you want to keep proving your point? It's kind of like the football mentality. Some people pick an enemy and they make it be the man, even though they have one on the side, so they don't ever need one. But they keep picking bad guys because that's just what they want to do, because they don't want to be accountable or responsible. And it's easier to blame somebody else than yourself. Well, I gave this guy a chance and he wouldn't. I gave this guy a chance. But the whole time, you never were there. You never had a destination or a goal. You just wanted to be something. And you pick your enemy sometimes so that you can maintain your thought process is all these bad dudes. There are bad dudes out there, but most of them will show themselves given enough time, and they still get chosen. I mean, we know this for a fact.
Listen, DVP, I just gotta interrupt you, man. They don't even need a lot of time. They tell you right out the gate, brother.
They know up front. So sometimes, women, everybody does this, but since we talking about why women say it, they do this so they can stay out of stable relationships because they've been hurt once or twice. And sometimes, people say, I don't have time to play games. Well, life is a game. We all play it. We just hope we win. When they say that, they're already telling you they have a self-destruction mentality that they're afraid. So let me just keep picking somebody I know can't keep up with me so I can dump them and blame it on them because I don't want to date up because I'm going to get hurt if he doesn't accept me for who I am. So I'm going to date here so I can get rid of them earlier. And to me, a lot of that comes from that whole accountability and responsibility. Ashley can pick. All of us can say we like Ashley. At the end of the day, for us to date Ashley, Ashley's got to choose us too. It's not a one-way street. I just can't say, Ashley, you're my girlfriend, Little Rascal Styles, and she come with me. She's got to say yay or nay. So once she says yes, we at 50-50. And there's an accountability and responsibility that comes with that. That nobody wants to take.
I just want to say, go ahead, Ash.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. What I was going to say is a lot of times too, we can't read each other's minds. And a lot of men and women don't want to just put it out there on the forefront. This is about laying everything that you need, want, and desire in your life to that person when you first meet them. You got to let them know up front, this is what I need. This is who I am. This is where I'm trying to get to. These are my goals. These are my preferences. This is what I will tolerate, what I'm not going to tolerate, and what I'm trying to do in my life and how I want to present myself and where I want to be on a physical, mental, emotional, spiritual level. And a lot of times we just go into these relationships and we think that other person can read our mind. And we, as women, we know men y'all can't read our minds.
We can't even read good books.
Right. We have to spell it out for you, right? And it's the same thing. Men have to spell it out for us sometimes too. So if we can, as going into a relationship, if you can express yourself, it's all about expression. If you can find that person that you can do that with, then you've hit a gold mine. And I think a lot of us just feel like we can't express ourselves with each other. And that's where the problems lie.
Exactly.
Now, I just want to read a comment. Sandy said, "Today world, it is hard to find a good man." That's what she said.
In today's world, it says?
Yes.
Sandy looking for a food man, though.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Sandy looking for a food man. But let me say this right quick. Part of what Ashley said, when it's hard to put out on the table who you are and what you want if you don't know. And most of us don't know. We've never taken the time to get to know us before we keep trying to get in relationships. And we just keep we evolving by the minute. And Ashley tells me she likes theater, so I'm gonna learn to like theater. As opposed to knowing what I like, I'm playing chameleon, and women do the same thing with men. When you say, "What do you like to do?" and it's like, "Well, I don't know." Well, come on, you 30 plus years old and you don't know what you like to do yet. And a lot of times it can't be shared because nobody knows who they are because their whole life they've been chameleons.
Yeah, but the whole thing is that when it comes to the dating scene, it's like everyone is not going to always be upfront and very transparent. That's why it's very important to play a little bit of defense until you know that person is on your team. Nobody's just her brother's not going to just come up to a woman and be like, "Listen, I just want to smash you." That's it. It's some sort of strategy that a particular person is going to use in order to get his benefit out of it. And this is why it's important to have certain strategies or a filtration process to see what this brother's motive is about or what is this sister's motive about. Because if you just go in just thinking that everyone is going to tell you everything up front, what they truly desire about you or what their agenda is, then I think that puts a person at a disadvantage.
No doubt.
Right.
Go ahead,
we all do have a hidden agenda. And that's, at the end of the day, that's why Tina Turner said it best. I've said it before. I'll say it again. What's love got to do with it? And a lot of these women who want to meet a man of virtue, a man that is a provider, a man that can, spin the wheels on that for them. What they're doing is they're hanging out in places that attract a broke man. Like you said, DVP, you can't have this emotional baggage on your back and want to attract some kind of new, thing in your life if you're still carrying that with you and you're hanging out in the spaces and the places and with the people that created it in the first place. You got to go and take yourself out of a comfort zone as a woman and start to deprogram those masculine ways. Hang out in spaces where you're going to find that kind of man, right? That may require some of you women out there. I love y'all to death, but you may have to change your looks. You may have to change the way you talk. You might have to do a little research, right? And so that's just a little keynote for the ladies who say they can't find a man. They are out there. You just ain't in the right spaces looking for them. Okay.
Hey, let me say something right quick because I'm sharing this on my show page, and one of my readers says, "I don't need a man. I'm good. I'm good on myself. No manipulative assholes. All of them." And see, it's that mentality that's already self-destructive. Because
that's what we call a tell right there.
Right. It's like,
go ahead.
But somebody needs to talk to her and find out why she's doing that, and she has to accept her responsibility and accountability for picking all these assholes.
Right.
Because clearly she's more attracted to them than they are to her because she keeps picking them.
And then
she's a common denominator. Go ahead, Mel.
But then it also comes to the point, like some women they have certain degrees of what kind of man that they want, a provider, a leader, protector. But also good men, they have standards too. Exactly. If a woman is a nagger, even though she looks good, they're going to be like, yo, I'm straight. You know what I'm saying? If a woman is the type of person that's like, you disagree with her, and the next thing you know, she's going to get a bottle, a 40 bottle or some Ciroc hit you upside the head. You got an issue. He's not going to, want to choose you. He's going to overstep you and go for a woman that's more desirable, one that's nurturing, one that's, respectful and so forth. So it can't be a one-way street. Like good men, we have standards too. Trust me.
Well, let me bounce off you for a second, Mel, on that. If women that nag and need a man, if you don't make a man feel wanted, then that's why he goes outside the relationship and he looks for that woman that can make him feel like a man. And so that's where women are getting it wrong too, is that whole nagging dynamic. Let's just say, you need the trash taken out. Well, baby, come give me a massage. And if you start talking about how the trash stinks and you can't get, in the mood, well, he's going to get his ass up and he's going to go take the trash out. And you're going to get it done without even having to nag him about it. You see what I'm saying? So women need to play the damsel in distress. They need to find those ways to get the point across to the man so that he can do what he's, able to do, and she can do what she's able to do, and they can come back into a meeting mode.
And all right, people. Let me say something right quick. When she does that's part of the test to see if you got a dude or a man. When you tell him that you need something done for you to do something, and he just look at you and say me first or something, you need to start demoting him. He's showing you that he doesn't want to be a man, and women keep giving that, and they end up with the I don't want a man mentality, even though this ain't a man you're dealing with in the first place. It's a dude.
Right.
You're rewarding bad behavior, pretty much.
Yeah. All right, y'all. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick 30-second break. When we come back, we're going to do our Jerry Springer moment and go around the horn and everybody do their final thoughts. We'll be right back in about 30 seconds.
Are you single? Do you know about dbdssingles.com? Are you ready to meet a quality man or a classy woman? The DBDS brothers want you to know that love and loyalty still exists. So if you're ready to meet relationship-ready people, sign up for a free trial. dbdssingles.com, where quality men meet classy women.
Dear brothers, it's about quality.
Oh, Mo, you're mute. There you go.
Hear me? Can't hear me?
Hear you now.
Oh, okay.
All
So
right.
yeah, there was a little delay on this side, but that's okay. We still keep it rolling. So you're back in the DBDS live studio, and we were talking about what does "I don't need a man" really mean, and this is our final words. We're gonna go around the horn. I want to start with Ashmo and get her final thoughts on this subject, and get y'all some information that can help you. Ashmo.
Well, just stimulating off of that, I don't need a man topic. At the end of the day, it's about figuring out what you do need and why you don't want a man in the first place. And so that requires a lot of introspection, a lot of self-awareness. Those are some of the things that I help, females and males with in my coaching practice, is about coming back to the ego and getting back into those dynamics of why you actually think that way, being able to heal that emotional baggage you carry around and to create a new story for yourself. So if if you need somebody to talk to, that's what I'm here for.
Get in touch with Ashmo if you need a little bit more counseling and therapeutic on that subject. DVP, final thoughts.
ladies, if you want a good man, put yourself out, present yourself as a good woman. If you lead with tits and ass, that's all he looks at you as. Once he gets it, he's on to the next. You got to present a better package if you want a good man. Anybody can have sex with you and look like a dude. Men and dudes look alike, but they're not the same. You got to up your game to get your game up.
Mel Money, final word.
Love that, man. Well, first off, I want to thank Ashley Moses and I want to thank DVP for coming onto the show and sharing their insight in order to like create a more healthy balance in relationships today. Thank you both once again. I would say that we need more of a healthy, balanced discourse, and certain women need to get away from the phrase that I don't need a man. Masculine and feminine energy are two sides of the same coin. So in other words, the two pieces to the puzzle that I stated earlier to make a hell of a winning combination. And we have traditional natural roles that actually sustain families. But in today's day and age, survival mode makes a woman more independent. The more masculine she is, the less she feels she needs a man. The less she feels she needs a man, the less she'll value a man. And the less she values a man, the less she'll have respect for him. We have to get back to changing our mindset to realize that, listen, sisters, you need us and we need you. So let's come together and continue to make dynamic relationships.
And my final thoughts, I want to thank our guests. Thank you, Ashley Moses. Thank you, DVP, for coming on the show. And my last words are this. I'll say this. A lot of women have unfairly been put in a position where they need financial independence. They have to hold it down on their own. Okay, but you got put in that position unfairly as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't have to be that way, though. You could have a good man with you helping to share that burden. Okay, then you got the emotional piece. At an emotional level, you have your emotional stability that you have to provide for yourself. But what about the emotional connection? You can't get that. You need a man to get that emotional connection. All right. So keep thinking about it that way. Don't just think about the financial side. There's two pieces to this whole relationship game, and you need to consider both. This has been DBDS Live. Mel Money, send us off, baby.
Are you single? Do you know about dbdssingles.com? Are you ready to meet a quality man or a classy woman? The DBDS brothers want you to know that love and loyalty still exists. So if you're ready to meet relationship-ready people, sign up for a free trial. dbdssingles.com, where quality men meet classy women.